Good evening, everyone, and welcome to United Front, The Call, How the Divine Nine Can Make Change on Election Day and Beyond. My name is Zaneta Lowe, and we appreciate you all for being with us again tonight. This marks night two of a three-night virtual town hall. Last night's theme was social action and impact. Tonight, we're going to be talking about economic development and entrepreneurship. We have a great group of panelists lined up for you. So let's get it started by bringing in our co-moderators for this event, Chairman Eddie Jones and Chairwoman Patrice Robinson.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
We are into night two of this three-night event. We had some great discussion last night and some wonderful panelists, and of course, wonderful questions from you all. It was a great discussion overall. So now we are into night two and have some really wonderful people that can speak directly to these issues as it relates to voter engagement and civic engagement and voter education. So we're all excited. I know you all are going to kick us off with a few words here.
Yes, thank you, Zanetta. We appreciate you being here with us tonight and all of our listening and viewing audience. I want to share with everyone we only have one more day to vote. One more day. Our last day to early vote is October 29th. Can you believe it? It's October 29th. I want to share with you today that it is so important that you get out and vote because your vote is your voice. Choose between your voting options. That means that if you have not already filled out an application for an absentee ballot, it's too late. If you have an absentee ballot, you need to get it in the mail now. Walk through all the details before you go to vote so there will be no problems. Know your dates and deadlines. I just told you the last day to early vote is tomorrow. The polls will close at 8 p.m. If you're downtown, the Poplar Avenue, 157 Poplar, will close at 6 o'clock p.m. Know your location. Now, for early voting, you have several locations to go to. But if you miss it, you've got to go November 3rd. That's this coming Tuesday, November 3rd, to your voting location where you have been assigned. Make sure that you have the information on the candidates. Know something about the candidate because that candidate will be a representative of your voice. If you don't know anything about the candidate, you don't know whether they actually believe in the things that you believe in. So do a little homework. Call a neighbor, a friend, a church member, a coworker. What are your children? And say, come on, let's go to the polls and vote. And let's vote together. Tomorrow is your last day to early vote. Again, our election day is when? November 3rd. That's Tuesday. And I want to remind you, wear a mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. This coronavirus is very serious. Let's take it seriously and let's work together and let's stamp out COVID and let us vote so that our voices will be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Good to see you again, Zanetta. And I won't even have to repeat any of what Patrice has laid out in the process for voting. But what I will say to you is to make sure you go to the polls and you vote.
Mhm.
A vote not cast is a voice not heard. There's so many things on the ballot that concerns all of us. And this is the opportunity that you have to voice your opinion. So I want to encourage everybody to get out and go and vote. And we talked about good trouble from my frat brother John Lewis, a civil rights pioneer. He talked about good trouble. And most of the time in our communities, when we hear the word trouble, we go the other way. But what I want to say to all of the listeners out there tonight, voting is good trouble. That is the kind of trouble that you want to get into, and you ain't got to worry about if the police is going to come and say, hey, what are you doing? You're going to go right into that poll booth. You're going to cast your vote, an educated vote, on someone that you have checked them out and made sure that's how you wanted to cast your vote. And so, to my listeners, go get into some good trouble. We have one more day of early voting, and then we have election day. Voting is good trouble with everything that you need is on that ballot. What you need to live a good life and to go out into the community and see those things that you haven't seen before, that they would jump right at you and say, and you could say to yourself, I got into some good trouble. I cast my vote and my opinion has been heard. So now I'm going to turn it back over to you. Listeners,
All
good
right.
trouble.
Good trouble. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Robinson and Chairman Jones. For any of you just joining us, again, thank you for being with us this evening. I'm going to do just a very brief introduction of our moderators for tonight, and then we're going to jump right into the discussion. First, starting off, City Council Chairwoman Patrice Robinson was elected to the Memphis City Council in November of 2015. She has a 30-plus career of professional experience in human resources and other areas. She's a certified senior professional in human resources and retired assessment and development at MLGW. Robinson, as if any of you watched last night, is a very proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So again, our co-moderator for the evening, Memphis City Council Chairwoman Patrice Robinson. Now to Chairman Eddie Jones. He was elected to his second term as Shelby County Commissioner in 2018. His district, District 11, is comprised of sections of Fox Meadows, Hickory Hill, Oak Haven, Parkway Village, and Whitehaven. Commissioner Jones works as a for the City of Memphis Code Enforcement as a supervisor and as a former Memphis police officer. And again, for those of you, just in case you missed it last night, Chairman Jones is a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Again, part of this discussion because of historically the Divine Nine have all been a part of service, community engagement, civic engagement, and voter education. So we are excited to be having this discussion. And now we'd like to bring in our first two panelists for the evening. Again, I mentioned earlier the theme for tonight was economic development and entrepreneurship. You know, people may not realize the impact voting has on economic development in your cities, in your communities. So I expect this to be a very robust discussion tonight that we're going to get into. So let's get started. We want to bring in Mrs. Giselle Booker and Mr. Mark Yates.
Good evening.
Thank you all for being with us. I'm going to do just a very brief introduction, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Jones and Chairwoman Robinson. Mrs. Giselle Booker presently serves as the President and CEO of the MMBC Continuum, an economic accelerator for Stage 2 minority and women-owned business enterprises. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing from Jackson State University and an executive MBA from the University of Memphis. Booker is a member of the Memphis alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So thank you so much, Mrs. Booker, for being with us. Mr. Mark Yates holds an Executive Master of Business Administration degree from Vanderbilt and a Bachelor of Arts from Howard University in Economics and Finance. He is the president and founder of the Enlightenment Center. Mr. Mark Yates is a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. You probably did not miss that because of what he is wearing this evening.
I'm very subtle.
Colors proudly.
We're very subtle.
So thank you both for being with us. I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Jones and Chairwoman Robinson.
Well, let me say thank you to both of you all for being here with us tonight. It is really something, and we interact on a daily, weekly, a monthly basis with the both of you as it concerns entrepreneurship and minority participation at some point. And so you all are uniquely qualified to lead in your respective organizations and what you do. And both of you are members of the Divine Nine. So, and you receive within your Greek letter organization made you a better and more empathetic leader. And so I'm going to go to the questions, and Mark and Joselle, I'm going to ask you this question, and you both can give us an answer. And I'll let you go first, Mr. Yates, because we were in the same 2019 Leadership Memphis Best Class Ever. So I will start the question there.
We may not agree.
Okay, that's okay. So, Joselle and Mark, our viewers are about, tell our viewers about your roles with your organizations and how the training you receive within your Greek letter organization made you a better and more empathetic leader.
Sure, absolutely. Well, greetings, everyone. Chairman Jones, thank you. Chairman Robinson, always a pleasure. And of course, Ms. Joselle Booker, my dear friend. And Joselle, I would have deferred, but he asked me to go first. So I'm going to follow leadership. And thank you, Zaneta. In terms of the question with respect to training, if we look internally at our respective Divine Nine organizations, the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, of course, looking at our cardinal principles, manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. The perseverance is one that really, all of them strike true to task, but perseverance is so important in all things. Persevere to the very end. And I pledged in the 80s. So I became a member of Omega Psi Phi in 1986. Shameless plug, I'm going to say this. Kamala Harris, she pledged the same year as I did on the AKA line. So we would see each other passing and all. So those are facts, just how life kind of goes. And so many of y'all kind of know that. So, but perseverance, if you think about the 80s and I think about that time, it allowed us to be in an environment that presented one of the most challenging situations, both academically and mentally. And I'm not going to mention the other parts of it, but it presented just those items, and it just allowed you to know that you could endure whatever is coming. And throughout my career in banking, my career in healthcare, my career in public service, whatever it's been, and now as president of the Black Business Association, and especially this year during COVID, it's all been about perseverance. And that's a question that I can answer off the cuff, because at the beginning of the year, I assumed the role of president and CEO of BBA. And who knew what was about to happen in March and how we've walked through this year. But there have been twists and turns along the way, but for the fact that I have first my faith in God. And secondly, I understand that I have a family that I can rely deeply upon. And thirdly, I do have friends. And with our fraternity, friendship is essential to the soul. And we value it as one of those highest things. That is our motto. So being able to just lean into a friend, and your first friend being Jesus. So I'll say that. And that's it. It's just very simple. We keep it very simple. If you know the Bros are probably some of the most authentic and earthy people you will ever meet. I'll stop there.
I'm not going to even respond. But
Me either. Better take us down another road.
Yeah.
so, Joselle, can you? Same question.
Okay. Well, first of all, again, thank you all for inviting me and allowing me to participate in this discussion. At MMBC, our organization is focused on helping businesses, not startup, but businesses that have been in business and businesses that are poised and ready to scale to the next level. And so in order to do that, it takes, it's work that you have to have a passion for. It's not a job that you can apply for and come to and be successful. It's something that is in you that you are passionate about. And so Delta Sigma Theta has helped me, I think, prepare me for this moment, much like what Mark said, this moment in time. Mark pledged in the 80s. I too pledged in the 80s. Just a few years before Mark, I am a 38-year Delta. I pledged at Jackson State back in spring 1982. So just a little before the time that Mark is talking about. And so you think back, that's a HBCU. So at an HBCU, and before coming to an HBCU, I went to a small high school, a little south of Jackson in Mississippi that was predominantly Black. And so I went from a predominantly Black high school to a predominantly Black HBCU, which is predominantly Black. And I point that out because when you're there, it's people that have attended HBCUs. And when you leave there, you're prepared for the world because everybody you see, for the most part, is like you, the people in leadership. So it's not a stretch for you to believe that you can lead and that you can aspire to be in a leadership role. Delta Sigma Theta, in its simplest terms, is founded on human-centric principles. The things that we do in Delta improve the human condition, is the way I like to say it. And so from an empathetic standpoint, everything you do is about helping others, whether they are young people, whether they're adults, in all walks of life. So Delta, being a member of Delta through the years, learning, leading, serving, I think has prepared me well for this work that I'm doing today at MMBC.
Thank you, Joselle. I believe that we all have a rich history as it relates to the Divine Nine and the service that we all have given to the community over many years. And I'm not going to tell you how many years. So just a few more than all of you. So I want to talk about COVID-19 just a minute. COVID-19 has really just wreaked havoc on many of our small businesses, not just on each and every one of our lives, but our businesses have really struggled. Not only just here in our community, but across the United States as well. The first stimulus was very helpful and it offered a tremendous help. But how do we get our voices heard in Washington, D.C.? Because we have more needs and we need them to do something for those businesses now. So what do you think we should be doing now to get our voices heard so that more Black businesses so that we won't have the situation where more Black businesses will cease to exist?
Okay, so I'll go first, Mark, this time, if you don't mind. Um, what I think, one of the things, I mean, we can't start doing anything without a plan of action. When we look at what happened as a result of COVID-19, there were so many factors that led to where we are today. You had businesses at different stages in the life cycle of those businesses. We had businesses across various industries. We had businesses with business owners with different levels of development as a business leader. But what we can do collectively in this community is to identify these unique needs that we see in our market of what needs to be done, and then put a plan of action together that we can then advocate on behalf of those businesses for funding across all kinds of areas, not just financial assistance to give those businesses a lifeline to keep them going. We need that. But then we need investment in our businesses, in our community, to look at new industries, to look at new markets for our business owners to enter into, and not those markets that don't yield growth and high-paying jobs that can help improve the lives of the people in this community. But collectively put together a plan of action, mobilize and educate and advocate on behalf of those members in this community, those businesses in this community.
Thank you, Joselle. Mark?
Sure, absolutely. I totally agree with everything Joselle says. From a plan of action to funding to identifying the resources, I liken it to, it's not an issue or a problem of money. The money is there. It is a problem of access to that money. And in what form is that money for the businesses that Black people traditionally have? And that needs to be amplified, especially in a community such as Memphis, where, you know, I, as president of the Black Business Association, again, with the title Black in it, you know, we are singularly focused on the efforts of Black people. And so in a town where you've got 65% of the population reflects that back, how can we amplify those needs? And a lot of it does come down to technical assistance. It comes down to people's knowledge. I had an opportunity to review one of my passions and hobbies is photography. And so a friend of mine recently purchased, he acquired the Hooks Brothers photography collection that goes back to the 1890s. And if anybody is old enough to understand when that, and so you look back to these old silver negatives and you see the history of our region from Mississippi to Arkansas to Tennessee and around, and the photographs of Black people. We have a very distinguished and rich history. We have been entrepreneurs, and we have served, and we have been a gentle people who advanced, but for the fact of subjugation and racism and a number of other factors and lack of access to capital and the dilution. That's the history. But we need to lean forward as we think about this. And leaning forward means that we say, okay, listen, we're level set. Our businesses are going out of business right now as we speak. The pandemic had a negative delta, a negative impact on Black businesses in Memphis, upwards of $1.2 to $2 billion, depending upon what think tank you ask and how you pin the numbers. Because if you've got 36,000 Black businesses with an average payroll on a 3-month basis of $30,000, that equals the numbers that we're just talking about. That number, those figures will not be recovered. What are our representatives? What are our senators? What are our Congress people? What are our elected officials really focusing on? Because so does the movement, the positive movement of Black business go. We solve a lot of social ills. And I'm not going to have the litany of those things, but from healthcare to education, to crime, to whatever. It just pick up social issue. If we can move that needle. Last thing I'll say is priority. The word priority, based upon its etymology, the first word is prior and the ority. There are no priorities is an oxymoron. There are no such things as priorities. You just don't have them. You have something that is primary, and Black business for Memphis is the priority.
Well, thank you, Mark, for that. That you went a little deep there, and absolutely, both of you all have been going deep in this conversation. So, Giselle, this question is for you. Let's talk opportunities. So, where do you see market entry opportunities for prospective minority businesses and, well, minority ownership? And talk about strategies that will sustain those opportunities.
So I see two areas. So one is, if you think about, Mark mentioned businesses that are going out of business. Some of them are going out of businesses. Some may be in trouble. And with those businesses being in trouble, there could be an opportunity for mergers or acquisitions, where you could have, as you talk about minority ownership, there could be individuals that wanted to own a business that could purchase a business from other minorities. Two companies could merge. With those opportunities, create greater opportunities for success. That's one of the quickest ways for minority businesses to scale, is if they merge one with the other or someone acquires one. But when you really start to think about opportunities, I think about, there are several opportunities that have come about lately as a result of COVID. This is a prime market and opportunity for innovation, for people that have ideas to create new products that help businesses and corporations to operate safer, and operate more efficient and to keep open. So I think in the area of innovation, in health and in safety, is an opportunity for minorities to enter into those markets, and to look at markets that not necessarily have low barriers to entry, but do research on those business and industry sectors, so that when they do come online and become business owners, they're not in markets where the margins are thin and people cannot pay a livable wage, and those businesses aren't successful.
Okay, I want to interject, Eddie. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, Mark, does increasing wages in our area lead to unprofitability more so for Black business owners versus more well-established white business owners?
That's a great question, and it's an economic question that we really have to graph out, and I have to think about it out loud in terms of what the negative impact would be. If you raise wages, then what you do is you compress margins, both depending upon what type of business, if it's a service company or if it's an operating entity, whether it be in manufacturing or some other. You're going to decrease the contribution margin, meaning what you pay for labor is going to decrease the amount of money that you're able to make in that enterprise. Because you're decreasing that, you have less money available for investments, reinvestments in the business. Your profitability is naturally going to go down. Now, the factor on the other side is, if you are able to acquire a better trained, a more efficient and effective employee, worker, partner, and they can increase your efficiency, then you have the opportunity to increase your profitability, hopefully. But those things come with, one, a risk and a leap of faith, if you will, in terms of, okay, I'm going to pay a higher wage. Will I be able to, what is the motivation for me paying a higher wage? Is it to attract a higher quality employee? Is it to retain that employee? Is it to have that employee invested and incentivized in my business? Those are the factors that we have to think through in terms of, just because we raise the level of wages does not mean that we get a better or more efficient or effective at what we do in delivering products and services. That's the economics answer. So it's not an opinion. It just is looking at an income statement top to bottom and going through it and saying, this is how, because last thing, and I'll be quiet, is the goal of business it is that to return, to maximize the return on shareholder value. So what is the first thing that we always see whenever a company can't achieve its earnings, an employer can't achieve its earnings, is they will do a layoff, they will do a, what are the different names in terms that we've heard over the years for layoffs?
Yeah.
Outsource to reduce employee costs. So now we're talking about increasing employee cost and wages and all those factors, and it runs against what is natural for the market.
Well,
Thank you. Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah.
It's 6:30.
I was going to get to that. And so I wanted to thank both of you all for coming on and speaking with us and talking about entrepreneurship, economic development. And so for the both of you all, and this time I'll start with Joseph. Any closing thoughts for our listeners as it relates to entrepreneurship and becoming business owners?
Yes. What I'll say is that what I think about back to what happened after the recession of 2007. We saw what we believe in this country to be the emergence of opportunity entrepreneurs. And we're ripe for that now. And what we mean by that are individuals that we were just speaking of that may have lost their jobs, they may have been laid off, downsized, and they had to take care of their families. And so they decided that they would go into business. And the parting thought that I would leave to them is to really look at industries that you're interested in entering into, and to resist the temptation to enter into a business or a market where the barriers are low, and what Mark just got through talking about, where the margins are thin and competition is great. And so you set yourself up to where you can easily enter into a business, but you can't make money that you need to take care of your family, and your wages are low. So really look at, do research, reach out to the local organizations that are available that can provide assistance and guidance to help you make a good decision about a business that you want to enter into.
All right, Mark, you want to close us out? And all right, well, we're good. Once again, thank both of you all for coming on and sharing that information to our listeners. And we're going to turn it back over to Zaneta Lowe.
Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Zell Booker and Mr. Mark Yates. Some very in-depth and thought-provoking discussion about economic development and entrepreneurship in our community, and really opportunities and where things need to go, particularly in the stage that we're in right now. We're in an election season, and as you mentioned, dealing with COVID. So it's a unique time, and they really did speak to that. So that's some very valuable information. We want to move on to our next set of guests for the evening. We are going to be welcoming in Mrs. Carolyn Watkins and Mrs. Joanne Massey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome back in, ladies. I'm going to do just a very brief introduction and then turn it back over to our co-moderators for the evening. I'm going to start with Ms. Watkins. Carolyn Watkins is a native of Memphis, Tennessee. She's a graduate of Jackson State University and Loyola University Law School. She currently serves as the Administrator of Equal Opportunity Compliance for Shelby County. Mrs. Watkins is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So welcome in, Carolyn Watkins. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Joanne Massey currently serves as the City of Memphis' Director of Business Diversity and Compliance. She is also the founder and principal consultant for Lewis Massey Associates, LLC. She recently was awarded a certification in economic development from Harvard. She's a graduate of Benedictine University. She has a master's degree in business administration and has a dual bachelor's from Lemoyne Owen College. Joanne is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Beta Epsilon Omega chapter. Welcome in, Joanne Massey. So welcome in to Joanne and Carolyn. I'm going to turn it back over down to Chairman Jones and Chairwoman Robinson.
All right, Patrice, I'm going to let you open it up. You have two wonderful guests there. Go ahead and just really get this started so that we can, our listeners can get some valuable information as it relates to their roles in government.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Chairwoman. How are you?
I am well. I am so glad you're here tonight because we are talking about leaders of all backgrounds, and we appreciate you being here with us this evening. I have a question I want to share with both of you. So I'd like for Joanne to answer first, and then you, Carolyn. And without speaking to any specific cases, that you may have, or our local governments, I'm talking about city and county, I want you all to speak to the significant strides in the area of ensuring more small Black businesses are being used as vendors. And please share some statistics with us that is really concerning the community at this time.
All right. Well, thank you, Chairwoman. That's a great question to kind of start off. And so we have kind of told the story before. When Mayor Strickland took office in 2016, he hired me that February. He combined all city offices that were providing support for small businesses. And we kind of just took off. And we took off with the number one goal of increasing contracting for small minority and women businesses in city government. Since that time, we have made a lot of progress. And that progress includes, at the time that the mayor took office, we were at about 12.67% of total city contracting with minority businesses. Since then, in the last count for FY20, fiscal year 20, we're at 22.93%. But your question was specific about Black businesses.
Yes.
Of that 22.9%, and I'm looking here at my notes, 16.61% of that was just with Black businesses. So we disaggregate our data to be able to show that. So that's about, of the $103 million, that's about $74 million that was spent with just Black businesses alone through city contracting. I'm also really proud of the progress that we made along the lines of getting businesses registered with our directory. 75% of the businesses in our directory are Black-owned businesses. So when you look at the statistics of how we're spending, you'll find that, 75% of the businesses registered with our office are Black businesses. We also implemented programming. I know Ms. Booker, my colleague, earlier mentioned about different technical assistance programs and organizations. Due to that entrepreneurship that happened around or so, when a lot of Black people who lost their jobs or were downsized, they created their own businesses. We found that over 800 businesses out of the 49,000 in our county, they had employees. The remaining 39,000 or so, they didn't. And so what we have tasked to do with the 800 is to help businesses not only increase their workforce, but increase their revenue. That partnership is with Shelby County government, City of Memphis government, Starco, Christian Brothers University, and Epicenter. And we're also a partner with FedEx. So we've really taken the reins and did a lot of work around our programming, around our spending, and around our directory to ensure we're being intentional. And that leadership with Mayor Strickland has been not only a goal, but a mandate.
Thank you. So Carolyn, what's going on the county side?
Well, on the county side, I am happy to say that we have increased our minority spend quite significantly this last quarter. Previously, our spend had been around 4 or 5%, but the last quarter of the last quarter of the fiscal year, we were up with minority participation at about 15%. Chairman Jones, I don't even know if you knew that. You would have if you read my report I sent you.
All y'all send me reports, but keep going.
But we are up around 15%. And so out of about $28 million that the county spent, minority purchases were about $3 million. So for us, that is a big deal and a big stride. So we are happy to report that it's progress, slow progress, but we are doing better.
Well, good. And that is good to hear, because that sort of leads into the very next question. So let's take a moment to talk about for how to become a vendor in both governments. And why is it important for business owners here to apply?
Well, it's important for business owners to be certified to do business with the city and the county and any other entity that certifies, so that people who are looking for partners on projects can know that you are especially a minority and woman business, you've been vetted, and you can do what it is that you say you can do. Joanne and I and a couple more people, my soror, Joselle, we do that legwork for you. We go out and we do on-sites and we make sure that vendors can do what it is they say they can do. And we also want to make sure that our dollars that we are targeting to spend for minority companies go to those companies. We don't want to deal with shams, and we don't want to deal with front companies. Joanne and I pick up the phone often if we feel that somebody is not quite telling us the truth about their ownership. Now, the nuts and bolts of it, when on the county side, you have to qualify for an EOC number, and that means any business that wants to do business with the county must be an equal opportunity employer. Once you pass that hurdle, you tell us that you want to be an MWBE business. And at that point, we will pick up your application and we will do an on-site to make sure you have the tools you need to perform whatever task you say you can perform. And on the county side, the 51% owner of the business must reside in Shelby County, and the site of the business must be in Shelby County. And we also have reciprocal certification with the city of Memphis, which means that if Joanne has done all of that legwork on her side of the street, we won't make you go through it again on our side of the street. We will just ask for a few additional documents. And it's important that people are certified again, so that we know we are dealing with legitimate minority and women-owned businesses.
And so just to add to what my colleague, Ms. Watkins said, for the city side, our program is a little bit more expansive in the area that we cover. We cover the Memphis MSA. So that's the 8 counties that make up, Memphis, Shelby County, and then those that are surrounding. The reason why our program covers that additional area is because based on our disparity study, we saw that our relative buying market for the city of Memphis and what we buy, and I've worked for the county before, I worked for the trustee for over 5 years. So whenever I describe the difference between city and county government, I say, the county covers people. So you have the health department and, folks like places like that. And then of course the city is all about infrastructure. And so there's the streets and the potholes and the lights and things, but we're all together Shelby Countyans. And so our program is a little bit different because of that MSA coverage. And we also, and I just want to make sure everyone knows, our certification is free, just like the county, just like the airport. You don't have to pay because you've already paid as taxpayers for us to provide you the services. We also have our program, pretty much our entire application process is online, except for, as Ms. Watkins mentioned, that site visit. So you can go to buy901.net and choose to join our directory. And from there, you can start your certification process, upload your documents and such, and we will vet them. We do have our list accessed not only by all government agencies like MLGNW, MATA, of course, Shelby County, Airport, EDGE, DMC, Downtown Memphis Commission, and so forth, but private organizations call us all the time, even private individuals. I just got an email this evening from the folks at Nike who want to get some information about minority contractors and be able to do business with them. So the importance of being a part of this list cannot be stressed enough if you're a small business. And we really do work with, and as Ms. Booker said earlier, everyone from startups to very seasoned businesses. And I'm sure we'll talk more about those different projects and opportunities later.
If you want me to, I'll go ahead on and jump in there. Let me jump in with this one, Patrice. And so it's good that you talked about that. And so let's talk about, I know city government, county government. What about those other parts of city government that also have minority spend? MLGNW, the Med. How are we doing in that arena with those others outside of City Hall that are a part of city and county government?
Well, Chairman, I will say that our city council and our mayor, again, has been really intentional about optimizing the opportunities for inclusion in the spend that we have. Our city council oversees our budget. And back in, I believe it was 2017, there was already a resolution in place for those organizations to report their spend in to our office. And I know Ms. Booker with MLGNW, they may have been reporting in when she was there, but those organizations in 2017 were asked by City Council to ensure on a quarterly basis that they reported in, and then our office was given the responsibility of monitoring that. And so quite honestly, those organizations are doing well. Again, I say that and I say well, because there's always more that can be done and there's always more opportunity as we look to expand that. But those organizations are doing well. We all are working together. Gary Rosenfeld, I believe, Gary Rosenfeld is the president of MATA. He has hired on a diversity coordinator that works for their organization. Again, EDGE has continued to expand their program, and Downtown Memphis Commission. And I'll say this, I think that City Council and Mayor Strickland, under that leadership, has really set an example for how government agencies can ensure inclusion, equity and inclusion in the way that we operate programs like this. And so those other organizations have taken on a lot of the best practices and, again, been cooperative in ensuring that we're serving, all Shelby Countyans.
And I'd like to add one thing to what Joanne has stated. We have an informal group called the Intergovernmental Consortium. And with that group, we have meetings, and we have meetings. It's the city, the county, it's MATA, it's the airport authority, it's MLG and W, and it's UT now.
Chamber, yeah.
It's the county schools. And what we do in that little informal group is we get together and we talk about best practices, and we also talk about and share information about programs that we have coming up so everybody can be a part. And we also talk about if we have any issues, so we can brainstorm on how to solve those issues. And I think when we do that together, that keeps everybody connected and involved.
Okay, thank you. And let me apologize. I had my mic off. I wanted us to be talking about COVID-19. And the team in the background, let me thank you for letting me know in the chat that I was just rambling on and you all could nobody hear me.
That's why I just went on ahead and ran with it.
Thank you. And we don't want to be so formal, so we're going to use your first names, Joanne and Carolyn. I want to talk about the COVID-19 and how it has negatively impacted all of our local businesses and their operations. So what strategies did you all use in your office to ensure that potential vendors for the city and county still make sure that they're still looking to be certified, and what they can do during this pandemic period to utilize the services of both offices? And I'm going to start with Carolyn this time.
Well, what we have done, and again, Joanne and I have actually talked about this because it kind of hit everybody the same way. But one of the things we have done is we have done a wellness check. We actually did a wellness check with all of our MWBEs and our LOSBs to just ask them, how are you doing? Is it anything we can do to assist you? Of course, at that time, unlike SIT, we didn't have any funds to give them, but there were some things that we were able to help them with. And as far as to start, for nothing else but point them across the street, because Joanne had shared with me that they had so we sent them across the street and other places. But with that, we have also continued our certification. We are rolling right along. Now, when we do certifications, that means people have to go out and we certify home-based businesses. So that means we're going in people's homes, going in their businesses. So for the safety of my staff, we are no longer doing that. But when people say they want to be certified, we require them to send us more paperwork now. So if you say that you are a certified consultant and whatever, then you, instead of us going to your office to see that, you will send us a picture of those types of certifications and those types of things. And I have 2 staff persons that actually do the on-site investigations, and they're not doing it for every business, I will admit. But what we do is we drive by, because for our program, your business has to be located within the boundaries of Shelby County. So they take what you send as your office address, and we drive by to make sure that your sign is out there, and you are actually trying to be certified in the places you say you are. So it's been a little different, but we are moving right along. Certifications are down some, but I think during these times that's to be expected. But we still have people working to certify people.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Joanne, what's going on with the city?
Well, I will tell you, we were fortunate in a lot of ways. Again, leadership mattered. To Carolyn's point, we did have some funds, thanks to City Council. We had some funds already. And so the Office of Business Diversity and Compliance quickly pivoted. We recognized, and our Chief Operating Officer, Doug McGowan, who leads the Shelby County City of Memphis Task Force, COVID task force, he was able to, give us information. We knew we had to pivot and get ready for what was coming towards us. So like the county, we did wellness checks too. We partnered with the Greater Memphis Chamber, sent out surveys to kind of know where our businesses were. And we continuously did that. We also repurposed some funding that council had given us in regards to microloans, and we quickly created the Economic Hardship Emergency Loan Fund. So that has went really well. We also created the Resiliency Fund. So, we're government, we like to name things, but both of those loan funds became immediately available for businesses that needed funding. We set up shop because, of course, we had to go virtual. So we set up a virtual shop of business navigators in partnership with the Southwest Tennessee Business Development Center partners, Rory Thomas and William Richardson, who lead that group. They became our virtual business navigators, like hotline, where you could call in and get directed to resources, get information. And sometimes it was just support that, know your city project is not going to stop. It may be slowed down. You're not going to, lose your contract and things like that. We also, because we were already preparing to do it, we were able to quickly get our certification process online. We had started that in December or so of the previous year. So our certification team was able to launch that buy901.net. The certification application was there. Our certifications have actually not slowed down. And in fact, it's increased, because one of the reasons, again, thanks to council, we have $5 million in grant funds that we are actually dispersing right now. So today people were picking up checks, and they'll be picking up checks tomorrow, and we'll keep them picking it up. But we have a few $1 million still to give to businesses. Now, the key is the business must be located in the city of Memphis, and they must also be a city of Memphis resident. We will have some funds that have been set aside for Shelby County residents, meaning those that are outside of the city. And so you can certainly go ahead, send your application in and apply. But the website for that is memphisbdc.org /grants. So Councilwoman, Commissioner, we have really, really done a lot to help try to prop our businesses up. But at the end of the day, we understand and know that all the businesses won't survive on the other side of this. And so Ms. Booker mentioned it earlier about emerging opportunities and new technologies, and just where people can look for opportunity. We have our Entrepreneurs Network Center. We have workshops that we have developed that are COVID related, that helps businesses. All of that's online. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter, you should be. It's filled with information every single month.
Well, thank you for that. And this question is for you, Carolyn. You made a mention of some acronyms, MWBE, WBE, MBE. For our listening audience, can you define what each one of those stands for and how it would apply to minorities?
Okay, well, the MBE actually is the one that applies to minorities. That the MBE stands for a minority business enterprise. And a lot of times people think when we are using the term minority, we are talking about African American, but that is not so. When we talk about minorities, we are talking about We're talking about Latinos. We're talking about Pacific Asian Islanders. So we are not just limited to African Americans. WBE is a women business enterprise. And what that means is it is the ownership of the business is that of, by most definitions, a white woman, a white female. And those are the acronyms that are generally used throughout the industry. Now, with WBEs, there may be some that include minority females, but generally here in our area, we are talking about a white woman business enterprise.
Okay. So let me ask a follow-up question to that. So an MWBE is what?
Well, MWB, that's just the general category that stands for minority/women business, generally a slash in there, minority women business enterprise. And so we are talking about minority businesses and women businesses, and we just put them together. And it's done that way because a lot of times people think that a woman is a minority, and she is not. There is a separate category for women. And so that's why it's separated out like that.
Mr. Jones, chairman of the Shelby County Commission, we're going to have to bring these ladies back because I have a lot more questions and we are running out of time. And our business leaders need to hear this information.
Well, you know what I think we should do? Make sure that when we do bring them back, let's invite business leaders. And we can have a part 2 to this conversation, very in depth. And hey, you just tell me when.
I will, as soon as we end this show. Ladies, do you have any closing thoughts before we close out?
I guess my only closing thought would be that when you are dealing with MWBEs, you have to be intentional. The business has to be intentional, meaning that they have to do the certification. They have to get to know the people that they're dealing with. And as far as government is concerned, government has to be intentional about wanting to utilize these companies. Everybody in our community is a taxpayer. And so everybody should have the same opportunity to see the benefit of their procurement dollars. And so intentionality, I think, is the key. We have programs all over the area, but with a program or without a program, intentionality is the key. And everybody should be able to be a part of the procurement process.
Intentional. I got it. Joanne.
Well, I'll just say, I definitely agree with everything that Carolyn said about intentionality and the Strickland administration. That's exactly what we've done. We built up programming. We have increased our resources, and we are there to help businesses. And quite honestly, before COVID, our place was bustling. The 11,000 square feet that we occupy at the old Universal Life building, which is now part of our Entrepreneurs Network Center. But we are still accepting phone calls. Just last month, we had over 1,009 phone calls in to our offices. So what I'm asking and what I want to leave everyone with is know that the resources are there. You've already paid for this as taxpayers. I work for you. I want to help you. My team and I are waiting. So please call us, access the website, and apply for this grant money. Because you know what happens to grant money if you don't use it? You lose it and you have to send it back. And we don't need to send this money back because I know that there are business owners, home-based businesses, single ownership businesses that need this money. You can apply. So please apply. And thank you, Chairwoman, Chairman, for having us here.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being here. I'm Patrice Jordan Robinson, and this is A View from the Chair. Eddie.
And I'm Shelby County Commissioner, Chairman Eddie S. Jones Jr. And from the chairman's perspective, to all of our listeners, Remember, get into some good trouble. Go and vote. Wear a mask. Wipe your hands. Social distance and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a robust and in-depth discussion we all had this evening. We thank you all for being with us. Again, that was night 2, where we talked about economic development and entrepreneurship. Please be sure to join us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. when we'll be talking about speaking to the youth. Have a wonderful evening.